Well, with James Harden leaving and Ben Simmons coming in. Wait, do I sound salty? I was watching Media Day today.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant is who he is. Did you hear that?
He sounded really salty. I'm going to make a couple burner accounts. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in on To The Point with
Skip
and the King. You guys know what to do. Go down there, click subscribe, click like. You guys go find SimonBroder.com. Find that book. This is yeah. You got to pay me a lot of money for that book, right? You guys know what to do. Thank you guys. Go check out our merch. To The Point. You guys get the t-shirts. You guys, thank you for all your support. Thank you for loving us and our phenomenal guests, especially right there. My man, Kenyon Nisbet. How you doing, my friend? People love you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good as always. Good to be back.
Sweet. And I love your background. And the one and only, the coach, Tim Roach. We got Nick Nurse's doppelganger right here. So I think we pulled him away from today, Media Day.
Gotta be flexible, man. Gotta bring it to Raptors Nation on To The Point. Doing well, man.
Sweet. I love it. Okay, guys, let's get into this. Today was Media Day for all of the NBA, like I alluded to with Kevin Durant being kind of salty, right? Next question. But more importantly, for your Toronto Raptors out there, Coach, let me ask you first. What did you think that your doppelganger, Nick Nurse, said today? What do you think of all of the points that he made?
I think there were 3 points that stood out to me. The first one was, we're bringing back 13 guys from last season's team. We will be bringing back the most guys in the NBA this year. And you have to build chemistry that way by bringing back a developing team is what I'm trying to say. He also made a comment about, and I think he probably got this a lot in the summer, about what do you do with Embiid if you're going to come across him again in the playoffs. And through the East, you're going to have to get through Embiid, Giannis, or both. So he did mention about, like, he's having these solutions right now, and there is no one-size-fits-all solution for someone like an Embiid who's so physically dominating, but he kind of just pointed to the roster construction. And that will be something for his coaching staff to figure out. Probably, if I'm taking the guess here, throwing multiple bodies at Embiid. So it's not just Precious guarding him. It could be Precious or Kem or Scottie.
Thad.
It could be Thad. That is correct. So I think throwing multiple bodies at Embiid, trying to wear him down physically. I think they have to do that because physically we still don't have anyone who can match up with Embiid. But then again, nobody else really does in the NBA. So I think just trying to wear him down physically will be key for them moving forward. And the third thing that I noticed that he had talked about was what to do with Fred. Someone asked from the media a question like, how do you get more out of Fred VanVleet and hopefully not have him injured as much? And he just kind of in a smart way said, just play him less minutes. And I thought that was key because it's not so much playing him less minutes, it's how you're playing him, right? If he is so ball dominant, he's the ball all the time, he's trying to create all the time, and then he's going back to play defense. Anybody who's played basketball knows that's a lot of energy that's being consumed right there. So probably playing Fred more off ball, having Scottie play more point, having Pascal play more point. I think that's going to be key. But also, I heard a wise coach once said, rest on offense if you're going to rest. Hey, save your energy for playing defense. And what does Fred do well? Play defense. And then he's an elite shooter. Everybody knows he's an elite three-point shooter. Let's use him to his strengths. on offense. So I also noticed too that Fred's lost a little bit of weight, and I think that's going to be needed for his knee this upcoming season.
You know what? You touched on that. That's awesome. I'll get into that as a coach, as a fellow coach. Yes, 90% of your energy should be spent on defense. 10% should be spent on offense. Now, you just touched on something else there about what Nurse had to say about Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet, my mom's favorite player. Ma, stop. Okay. About him in his role now with his minutes being diminished. Now, Kenyon, can I ask you, by the way, you're on mute. Can I ask you to explain about what Fred VanVleet had to say today during the media day?
Yeah, so I actually made a post on the forum about this. So one of the key things that I saw was Samson Folk from the Raptors Republic actually asked Fred, kind of a question about, hey, your numbers, yes, Skip does there too. But anyways, so your numbers are elite when you are shooting, when you are in catch and shoot situations. Like when I say elite, I looked at the numbers myself and he shoots better than Devin Booker by a mile. Like he's that good. So the real question is that for Fred was
on the court, not off the court, right? He's shooting better.
Anyways, so the real point that I was trying to get to is given that that he has elite shooting stats and given the potential ascension of Barnes and Siakam, how does he feel about the excitement of this upcoming season as it relates to perhaps an off-ball role? Now, Fred, in response, he went on to outline that they're still kind of defining what it means to be successful as a team for each individual and what those roles mean. But he did say that he, doesn't necessarily need the ball. He also did make a point that, maybe maybe it's him, maybe he's crazy, but he didn't feel like he had the ball that much. So he feels like maybe it's a little bit overblown. But overall, he seemed excited, and he does seem open to this new role, which I think would lead to an overall better season for everyone else, because you want to keep him healthier and you also want to maximize everyone's talents in totality. Totality is a word that was brought up by other people as well. So my personal opinion is I'm a big proponent. I've always been a big proponent of Fred off ball because you get him healthier for longer, and guess what? He's elite at that stuff.
Yes, we don't curse on the show, but you freaking nailed it right there. That sounds amazing, because I've been preaching that, so I agree with you. So amen, my brother. Now, you also just mentioned something about Scottie Barnes. Now, Skip, what did Scottie say today during the media day? Because I love what he said. And by the way, he looks massive right now. Like he looks like that from Giannis, from when he started to Giannis now, right? I don't know what he's doing, but what do you think about what Scottie's role and what he said today during the media day?
He said, and I quote, "I've always been a point guard. That's why I went to Florida State, was because they let me be a point guard." I mean, that might not be word for word, but it's very close to what he said. Essentially, I think he's clear that he wants to be on ball more. He sees the floor. He wants to take advantage of that. And like you said, he does look like he's built like a brick shit house, which is great. He can do a lot more than just be your traditional point guard, but he can absolutely be a guy who can run the offense. And they also asked him about making the jump to that next level, and he said, I'm ready. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to try and do my best to be the best player I can be. He also talked a bit about making more shots, which is obviously something we've talked about ad nauseum on the show. He needs to make his shots.
Even before he was drafted to the Raptors, we've been talking about it.
But another thing that this comes back to what Nick Nurse was talking about when they got into the
Coach
offense.
Roach?
No, not Coach Roach. Coach Nurse, the actual coach of the Raptors. when they asked him about the offense, he really brought up this idea of putting more pressure on the rim. And basically, the sense I got from what they were talking about in terms of the layout of the organization of the roster, essentially, is that it's not going to change a whole lot from what we saw last year. We're still going to see this positionless, this 6'9" team. We're still going to see a team that chases the offensive glass. We're probably going to see a team that's really good, really hustling on defense and playing a crazy, chaotic defensive style. But what he did say is, in order to improve the offense, what they need to do is they need to put more pressure on the rim. They need to get more free throws, and they need to obviously collapse the defense and open up the 3-point game, which absolutely I think is stuff we've talked about on the podcast. I think it's out there. I think they know what they need to do. But I think Scottie Barnes is the keystone of all that, because Scottie is the guy who's going to be the point guard, which means he's going to be the guy that's going to have to be getting in there, finding those lanes, really putting pressure on the rim. And other guys obviously have to be better at the rim too. But a lot of it is going to come down to Scottie Barnes.
Wow. So that's what you take away from Scottie Barnes. Okay, well, guys, can I weigh in here? Can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. From what I saw today, okay, Scottie, like I said on the last episode, Skip, win. That's his main word. That's his key word, right?
That came up a lot today, that word.
Yes, win, right? That's what Scottie. Freddie, I like the fact that we have spoken about this on the podcast before, about Freddie maybe be taking a step back to open, like you said, Kenyon, to open up the other players, right? To let their potential grow, right? To let them hit that ceiling. Coach, like you said about Nick Nurse letting the players go, right? Within his system. This is all great, but let's think a little bit bigger, okay? Masai has been actually watching these players for years. I heard him talk about Christian Koloko, which we haven't spoken about. I heard Coach Nick Nurse talking about Bo Cruz. What's his name? Skip, pronounce it for me, because you know I can't do that.
Juancho Hernan Gomez.
There we go.
He also spoke today, by the way.
Whatever, but yeah, he's a movie star. He's a big timer.
That's pretty much his whole press conference was just about congratulations on the movie. But anyway, go on.
He's Hollywood. By the way, you guys should go check that out. And I'm not saying Eurobasket champion. Y'all not paying us for ads, so I'm not saying the name of the movie. Yeah. But there was a lot that came out within this media day for the Toronto Raptors. And there is a lot of excitement, a lot of hope for you Toronto Raptors fans and us here on To The Point for this upcoming season. Now, guys, there were, like, Skip, you just said, Bo Cruz, Juancho, whatever his name is, he did also speak, but there were also other players that spoke. And they did have things to say. Now, Coach, anybody in particular that we did not touch on that spoke today?
I think OG Anunoby.
Would like to highlight?
I think OG Anunoby. He spoke today. He didn't speak for very long, which is not really his thing to do anyway.
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes.
Just because I think he was such a focus on the team this summer because of the whole Jake Fisher story that came out. And Nick Nurse touched on it too, about him, I think, speaking to him about potentially a larger role and designing more plays for him. This is a big year for OG. This is a defining year in a sense because he's in his prime right now. I think he's 25. This is his 6th year in the NBA. The young player status, I don't think really qualifies for him as much anymore as it used to. And we need to see more from his game this year. There has to be more of an expansion. And he touched on in an interview or in the media day as well, but what he's been doing. I think the shooting and his dribbling, stuff like that, which is good, but we need to see more from him. And if he wants a bigger role instead of just standing in the corner and taking open threes, or posting guys up. He's going to have to expand his game more. I think expansion is the biggest word to describe what he has to do right now on offense. It's just something that, if he wants a bigger role, he's going to do it.
Kenyon, anybody else that stood out to you today during this media day?
Well, just two quick things. First, I want to make a slight correction to Mr. Coach down there, which is to say, Nurse, actually, your doppelganger, actually said that he doesn't see Embiid as a major problem and that there are solutions on the roster.
I heard that too.
I think I agree with that. Whether or not Skip agrees with that or not, well, you can.
Embiid is a major problem by definition. He's literally
he's a problem for everyone.
Yeah.
Anyways, the second, but that doesn't mean that we don't have the solutions on this roster, and we don't have an elite organization to be able to deal with it. Number two is the more important thing. So we talked about Scottie Barnes, but we didn't talk about what Masai said about Scottie Barnes. I think that that's pretty important. So what I really saw was. When he was talking about Scottie, he kept saying like this is a future type of player. He said that he doesn't know what the heck type of position he plays. Yeah, we've all, outside of Uncle Robert, I've been like number 2 on that wagon, right? So he doesn't know what position he plays, but he just plays basketball. He plays this is almost a direct quote as I was writing it out. He is an incredible basketball player who just wants to win. He's a dynamic player. He's a player of the future. He exemplifies what they're kind of going for, which is what I keep talking about, which is that positionless basketball, which predicates on smart basketball IQ, good sharp passing, learning. He will learn to shoot with time, of course, and someone who's really great as a culture fit, great with teammates, dynamic on and off the court. Those things are all super important within any sort of organization, and honestly, we're really lucky to have someone at this stage in their career.
Great that he's doing stuff off the court. Great that he's doing stuff off the court here in the city of Toronto. It's absolutely amazing. Skip, do you see anything else that stood out to you here on Media Day?
Well, there's a couple more things that I want to get into. First of all, well, just to tag on the OG thing, I think there was some talk about, you kind of got into it, but like how he's not really a young player anymore and he needs to step up and be a little bit more of a leader. And he mentioned in his presser that he's really, really tight with Scottie and that they're like besties or whatever. I thought Gary Trent Jr. was his like bromance, but I guess he's moved on. But yeah, no, I think the idea of sort of OG taking on this a bit more of a senior role, a bit more of a veteran role, and really knowing his roles on the team. And I thought it was interesting when they talked to him about that report. He was like, I just woke up one day. I just saw it. I don't know what that guy was talking about, basically. So I don't know. I mean, probably everyone wants a bit of a bigger role, but he really downplayed it. We don't know what happens behind closed doors, but I generally take OG somewhat at face value. I don't know. He's got kind of a deadpan style. It's hard to read him sometimes. But I thought that there's some good vibes with OG there. I'm pretty happy with where that was going. And then the other thing that stood out is Pascal Siakam during his presser saying that he wanted to get to that sort of MVP level, be that a top 5 player in the league, which I think is I mean, if he can be that type of player, that opens up a whole lot for this team. I don't know that he can be. I think everyone strives, obviously, to be better. I mean, one thing we heard over and over today was just, I want to get better. I just want to be the best player I can be. But for Pascal to actually put that actual cap on it of like top 5 player in the league, that's a specific echelon that you're really striving to get into. And that's tough. And another thing he talked about is the killer instinct that you need to be at that level, because just because it's great to be a good player 82 games of the season in and out. It's another thing to be that guy who's going to be there at the end of the day making the shot, and he's obviously struggled with that in his career. So yeah. Now
guys, obviously we've all watched the pressers for today, right? But Skip, you just said something. I missed that. I missed the Pascal part. Now, can you guys educate myself and Raptors Nation out there on what it would take for Pascal, what you just said, Skip, to be a top 5 player. Do you guys see that potential for him to be that top 5 player in this league? Because remember, at his size, there's guys like Giannis, there's the Embiids, there's the Jokic, there's the Doncics, right? There are these players. Do you guys see Pascal actually fitting into that form, Coach?
I love his attitude towards this about wanting to be a top 5 player.
Hey, you need that attitude to make it, man.
You do. You need a killer instinct to be a top 5 player in the NBA.
Mamba mentality.
Yes, that is quite something. I'm not saying that he can't do it, but I'm going to have to see it first just to get into that top 5 category of Giannis, who I feel is the best player in the world today, but most complete player in the world today. And KD and Embiid, Jokic, some of these, Steph, I forgot Steph. There are so many top tier 1 players in the NBA. He wants to get into that top tier. It's another mindset to get in there. His work ethic, undeniable. No question. He probably has tremendous work ethic from all accounts. But then it's getting into a new level of killer instincts and playing like you are the best player on the floor every single night. And he's going to have to show that this year if he's going to be in that top 5 category.
It's also like most of those guys are incredibly physically gifted. And not to say that Siakam isn't, but he's not built like Giannis or Embiid. And he doesn't shoot.
He's 6'9" with a 7'1" wingspan. Like, how many players have that?
Oh, he's a great athlete.
He started only playing at 17.
He's a great athlete. Obviously, he's a
so
superb
I'm like
athlete.
yes, a lot of these guys are physically gifted, but even within that realm, Siakam is very, very. He's up there in terms of his physical gifts and what he can do and how athletic he can be. You know, the thing is that the Raptors have a lot of those players, but most teams don't.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not saying he's not gifted. He's obviously an incredible athlete to be at that level, even in the first place. But I really see the top 5 players of the NBA as being guys who are absolutely a step apart, a step above, a very, very different beast. I mean, but the mental aspect is important too. All of it's important. It takes a hell of a lot.
Yeah, right. The mental aspect takes
a hell of a lot to be a top 5 basketball player in the world. Just to be the top 5 at anything in the world is an incredible accomplishment. So maybe you can get there, but it's going to be a tough sledding. That's all I'm going to say.
Who do you have as your top 5? And then I'll, I didn't get a chance to say my thing, but
I haven't thought about it. But I guess we got to go Embiid, Jokic, Steph.
Embiid number 1.
You got 2 more.
Who am I?
Okay,
who
whatever.
Am I missing right now?
I was just one of yours list.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
Fill some dead air. Fill some dead air.
Okay,
the
so
people are out there watching this. They don't have time to spend on you, Skip.
Okay.
Right.
Give us your top 5.
So do you have 2 more? If you were to quickly just say 2 more, can you just toss out some names? I'm not going to roast you for it or anything like that. I'm putting you on.
Luka.
Come on, roast it.
And why am I spacing
One
right
more.
now? I don't want to come up with someone. Oh, this is tough,
Coach,
man.
help him out here.
No, it's his list, man. Yeah, one more.
Throw a name at me right now. Who am I
What
missing?
What about Steph?
I said Steph.
What about KD? What about?
I'll put KD in there until
I don't think
of
KD's top 5, but that's me.
I'll put KD in there until I think of somebody else. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So
wait.
Hold
Go
on, I
on,
didn't have a
Kid.
chance
Go
to
on,
speak,
go
man.
Go on.
So here's the thing. And this is kind of spoiler warning for a future thing that I'm working on, but Masai in past press conferences talked about what it takes to win, and these are really true. I even put something out there on the forum the other day, and it's like, how many people who win at the ultimate
hang on. Did I miss Giannis? I missed Giannis.
Okay, you did. Okay,
sorry.
So
My bad.
So how many people?
Needed a minute.
How many people win at the ultimate level? How many people who can be considered winners have gone through adversity? That's the first thing, and not many have. you look at Masai in that same press conference. This is about, I think, the season-ending presser from last year. And he talked about like how proud he was of. He literally said, "I am so proud of Pascal." He said, "This is the type of guy that he went through all the adversity. He had our own fans being racist to him, being nasty to him, counting him out, wanting to trade him all the time. How many players go through that? He started the season bad after coming back from an injury, and he used that and propelled himself. He had a bad few games. You had everyone, I'm not going to name any names, but I've been keeping a list of people saying very terrible things about him for the first 10 games and blaming him for us losing. No, let's not name names. It's not a good idea right now. Let's keep it focused on Pascal. He went through all of that and excelled and went into the playoffs. Yeah, he had an up and down playoffs, but overall he maintained his production. He let his teammates cook, and he cooked. I don't see anyone right now currently in the Eastern Conference that can consistently stop him on a night-to-night basis. I just don't. And you can't name anyone because it doesn't exist. The numbers that he put up put him in the echelon of guys like Luka, of guys like LeBron last year. Those are what the numbers show you. Right? So, and he's one of our most efficient options. So I think we need to stop counting him out. He finally had a healthy offseason that he got to work every single day.
This is a PSA, ladies and gentlemen.
Like,
Go on, Ken.
like Rico Hines, who has worked with all of our players, is like, this guy was the hardest working player that I have ever seen. So yeah, I don't know the future. I'm not Nostradamus, but I would say that there's a fairly good chance for him. Anyways, there's a fairly good chance that he could get to, and I've said this, Tim can tell you, and I've said it offline, that he can get to top 5 MVP in terms of voting. If the voters are fair. He was a top 15 player this past year. Don't forget. And frankly, I think that he's been further along than other players in terms of the playoffs. He's been a second option on a championship team. Luka don't have no ring.
Luka's also like 5 years younger, but
doesn't matter. We're talking about now. In 5 years, sure.
Yeah,
But
I think
now,
he's comfortably. I wouldn't say comfortably. He's a top 15 player right now, and I think that's.
And I'm not saying that him versus Luka, who's better. I'm not saying that. That's not my point. But my point is like, you got to put respect on his name. That's it. And in terms of the Eastern Conference,
top 15 player in the league. That's respectable.
Yeah,
top 5.
And I think that he can get to top 5
top
this
5
year,
is
potentially.
Top 5
I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I think he can do it.
All right.
So coach, how valuable is Pascal to this Raptors organization and getting them back to the Larry O'Brien trophy?
Very. He's going to be number one option.
Why?
As of now, anyway. I think just he's more ready than Scottie. I think will be in the future, but I don't know if Scottie's there right now. Like Kenyon said, and I want to be clear. I think when I say he might not be able to get to that top 5, that's not a term of disrespect, because what he's had to go through, like Kenyon said, over this past year, with all the hate directed towards him, now, a lot of guys may not have handled that well, and he just proved everybody wrong. He has to be the number one option, I think. He's just got to be similar to Fred, leader on the team. I think 1-2, that kind of thing. And I think something that's not talked about enough is his work ethic. I hope rubs off on everybody else, because if it does, that's their next step to being in contention.
Can I just switch gears here a little bit on something you said?
You can't drive. But
one thing, I can't drive a stick. I can drive. Yeah. I thought it was interesting how much the idea came up today that Fred is the leader of the team. There was that came up a few times. Nick Nurse referred to him as the leader. Fred VanVleet referred to himself as the leader. And Pascal, I think, even said he takes a bit of a different tack when it comes to that. He's maybe not the same kind of a leader as Fred is. So it seems like that in the room, in the clubhouse, Fred is the quote unquote leader of the team. And I think that's a lot of why we get this whole clash with the point guard style, because it's like conceptually in basketball, the point guard has the ball, he's the leader of the team, and so
More general.
there becomes this question when people ask Fred to play off ball. It's like he's kind of giving up a little bit of that power almost. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Is that potentially a real source of conflict, or am I just making that up?
I think you're making it up, but go on, guys.
Go for it, Kenyon.
Sure. I do actually think that there is a little bit to it, to an extent, and it goes back to the idea of trusting one another. And I think that last year, other people may have characterized it in a different way. I'm characterizing it as it's partially the trust thing, where there's different leadership styles, there's different ways of being a leader. I think Fred comes from more of an older school style, and I think that he's learning that it's okay. Sometimes being a leader is empowering your teammates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's not just one way to be a leader. There's also
100%.
different kinds of leaders. There's vocal leaders, there's technical leaders, there's
Leader.
Thad is a leader. Is Thad the best dude? It does, I mean, on the second unit, sometimes he needed to handle the ball, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's like, yeah. So, the other thing too is to like add on to that. And I mentioned this before, and I don't think we've ever talked about the idea to like develop a star in the best way. But in my opinion, I thought that if you look at Scottie Barnes versus LeBron, I thought what they did with LeBron was wrong early on in his career, where they just hand over the keys to the castle. Right.
Don't get me started.
Yeah. So, but my thing with Scottie is that just because like, it's like, give him more and more and more and more, but don't just hand him the whole cake, right? See what he can handle. Clearly he's learning at an extremely, like an exponential rate. There's a reason why I nickname him Scottie Quantum Barnes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the whole point is like slowly you're showing, hey, we want to win with you, but we're also not willing to sacrifice and step back. So you got to step up, and he will, and he does rise to the challenge. So I think the Fred thing plays into that as well, and I think it's all important. I don't know if Coach Broach has something.
Coach, you got any ideas on that one before we get out of here?
It's hard for me to go what Kenyon just said. I pretty much agree with everything he said there.
Yeah. Guys,
Sorry.
You know what? When it comes
That's
down
good.
when it comes down to leadership, sometimes you have to take a step back and empower the other people. Like,
I mean,
especially you guys out there, right? You guys can talk. I'll take a step back. I'll chill. Like, I might be your point guard, but I'll take a step back. You guys play the ball. You know what I mean? And I think Freddie in growing and maturing in his age, and after the championship run, seeing that that's what he might need to do to hand off the keys, like you said, Kenyon, to the future, right? Giving a little bit. Do you earn it? Do you deserve it? Right? Can you handle it? Yes.
Yeah, he
I
has the
do
valet
think-
key right now.
well, and I go back.
Exactly.
It's like the coach. It's like coach. The reason that point guards become coaches, and you'll go back to the Dwayne Casey years, and that's really how Dwayne Casey built this team from the ground up in the early days. It was
with Lowry.
with Lowry. It was slowly just give him a little more rope every year, every 6 months, give him a little more rope to run the offense, and we saw the results. So I think that's absolutely what needs to happen. The question is whether Fred can still fully lean all the way into that and still feel like he maintains his role on the team as a leader. And we didn't even talk.
Is done at the end of the year.
Well, we didn't even talk. That came up a whole bunch today. Whether he's going to resign.
I know, but that's all speculation. Coach, you had something to say there?
Yeah, just if Fred does take a bit of a step back, I don't even know call it a step back, just a transition from what he's used to doing to being more off ball. He does that. That's going to be so key for this team moving forward. That's going to protect his health. That's going to help Scottie develop more. Precious, everybody. It's going to feed off that. Delano, yes. And everyone's going to see that. It's like, oh, he's our vocal leader, and he's willing to make this sacrifice, if you want to call it a sacrifice, on offense. Well, maybe I will also do what's best for the team as well. I hope that's the case moving forward.
And that's being a leader too. Like, that's being the ultimate leader, because you're showing everyone, hey, if I'm willing to sacrifice, you should too.
Who better sacrifice?
Tim Duncan, everybody. He sacrificed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys. Just before we get out of here, since we're running short on time, is there any final thought? Give me like a 1-sentence answer. Skip, I'm looking at you because I know you take like 45 sentences. But is there any one final answer from what you've seen today for the Raptors Media Day? Coach?
You want me to take it first? Oh, Coach.
Well, you're going to take the longest.
Skip, you go first. You go first. I'm gathering my thoughts.
Oh, great. Here we go.
I guess the only thing we haven't really covered is just how much of an emphasis on winning there is in this organization. It's something that we've really seen ever since Masai was hired. Really, he came in here with an attitude of we're going to win, and every sentence that was asked of him, he would say, or every question that was asked of him, I should say, he would respond with, "We're growing, we're proving, but it all comes down to winning. Our goal is to win here." And he says that every press conference. It's nothing new, but it was just emphasized again and again. And I think every player echoed that in their presser. This team is not a team that's interested in taking the long, slow road back to whatever. Like, it's all about, we were pretty good last year. Let's get a little better this year. Let's win.
Yeah,
let's develop guys and let's win. So I was just reminded that that's what this organization is made of.
Kenyon? Anything you want to take away from Raptors Media Day?
Well, I keep saying it and it'll be present in upcoming things that I post. This organization is elite. That's what I keep saying. We got to stop doubting it.
Damn right. There was not much attention. I was watching it on NBA TV today, and there was not much attention towards the Raptors. I had to go watch it online, where I sent you guys. Coach, do you have anything else to take away from today's Raptors Media Day?
I'm impressed with what Fred said about hopefully willing to sacrifice. That's what's going to take for them to get to the next level.
Wow. Okay, guys, what I took away from today's Raptors Media Day was that number 6.
Oh yeah.
On the jerseys, yeah, man. I'm actually old enough to watch him play. Right, I've seen him play real live on TV.
Jeez, how old are you, Brian? Holy crap!
Well, you guys missed my birthday. I just turned 42. Like, come on. I've been watching ball since the 80s. Come on, man. But that's one of the things I took away. The main thing I took away from
okay, gotcha.
Yes. The main thing I took away from today was when I was watching Masai.
I still think you retired before you were born, but maybe I'm wrong. I got to do the math. Go on. Sorry, go on.
But the main thing I took away was Masai Ujiri crediting Bobby Webster and the whole staff for their scouting, for looking for these players. Like, we didn't even talk about Christian Koloko. How they found Pascal, how they found Scottie with the scouting, how deep the organization is looking into these players. And shout out to the Giants of Africa, because that's amazing. That's how some of these players actually came here globally to the city of Toronto, right, to showcase what the world can offer when it comes to the NBA, because it's not all about LeBron. It's not all about Kyrie. It's not all about KD. There are multiple players that have played in different leagues globally and have come up through there. And I really got to give a lot of credit to him for building that foundation, that organization. What did he say? It was 20 years now that he's been doing this? Dude, I was 22 at that time. Like, that's a long time. And I will say I will salute him and credit him on that. And I'm thankful that it came to the Raptors organization now that we get to see this global, international, positionless basketball that the Toronto Raptors are going to have. And can you guys agree with me? Within the next 5 years, the Raptors are bringing the LOB right back to the city of the dot. Can you guys agree with me on that one?
Yeah, they're I mean, they're all about
We're on
the,
track.
yeah,
On
and
track.
yeah.
Okay. So guys, thank you very much for showing up, Kenyon and the coach Tim Roach, Nick Nurse's doppelganger, and you too, Skip. Whatever. And thank you all you guys that came out for trivia night with myself and Skip. Thank you guys for purchasing the shirts. You guys, we're going to have a lot more merch, and we will be posting for our giveaway winner. And we just appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you so much. I can't extend it even more. You guys go down there, click subscribe, click like. Go follow Skip at Dougie J's on Twitter. Go follow the coach Tim Roach. Go follow Kenyon Nisbet. You know, he's one of my favorite people.
Please
I cannot.
don't. I keep saying this. I didn't know. I'm good.
Every time.
Yeah, but you know how many people actually comment to be like, I want Kenyon back on the show? Like you have your own fan base, bro. And myself, King Hussein, on all social media platforms, but to the point, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, you guys on YouTube, which is where you hope you're watching us right now. If not, you're bootlegging and you owe us some money. Okay, we have big things coming, and it's all because of you. And thank you guys for your support. So on behalf of myself, Skip, the coach Tim Roach, and the babyface assassin Kenyon Nisbet, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and
Peace.